Um, my name is Noli. I'm the energy manager here at the location. We have called you here today because everyone here has a Tesla. And thank you very much for being our customers. We really appreciate it. Now, does anybody here have solar on their house yet? You do have solar. Okay, cool. So we're gonna have a different conversation after this, I guess. Then. All right. A lot of us have solar as well, and we do own Teslas. And what we do here in our mission is now that we've started to push towards solar, on our customer towards solar for fueling their car, is because not many people understand how we fuel our cars. And what happens is that as we go ahead and try to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, it's a really, really, really good idea to think about how we fuel our cars. Does everybody here charge at home? Yeah, most people. Anybody hit a supercharger regularly at all? No? Okay. Superchargers are fantastic, especially the ones with with any type of ground mount system around there, so they are powered by clean energy. But what most people don't realize is that as we use our transportation, everyone goes switches to a Tesla for different reasons. Some people like it because it burns no fossil fuels. Other people like it because they're extremely fast. Other people like it because they're epic cars, the safeness of the cars, any of the above. But what most people don't realize is that when we buy our Teslas and we bring it home and we plug it into the charge port, is that we're actually putting on a load to the grid, or pulling a load off the grid that's about the same size of what a small townhome pulls. So you're actually adding that load, that more of a load to your house. Nobody really thinks about that because we're all jazzed on these really awesome cars. So our mission, especially here at this location and everybody here in this room, most likely, I'm sure you guys have bought into in our mission at Tesla, but our mission here is to kind of get that car fueled by clean energy, and if we can get any more on your house, fantastic. So what we're doing today is we're going to talk about our energy products, our solar products, and then we have some energy advisors here around the room that are going to be able to help you all and qualify your homes, make sure you guys can go ahead and qualify for any of our energy products as well, and we'll talk about that later on. If you guys have any questions during the presentation or while I'm talking, shout them out. You know, every system tends to be custom, so depends on the generality of the question. If it's quite general, I can answer it. If it starts to get a little detailed and we go down the wormhole of your specific system, we'll probably answer that later on with one of the advisors. But again, thank you for coming. So what we do is, obviously we drive our cars. We now have the capability of storage, which is pretty incredible. We're going to go into that very soon. The ecosystem at Tesla, we have our cars, our storage, and our solar. A lot of people don't realize that our utility products and our solar products are a massive, massive, massive part of Tesla. It's actually 2/3 of the Tesla ecosystem. Cars are one, and then energy is the rest of the two. We have our utility installations, which are our power packs, and I'm sure you guys have seen in the news the installations in South Australia, right, or Samoa, or Kauai, where we're able to power full islands and full towns down there at the bottom of South Australia. 30,000 homes at the bottom of Australia and an entire island in Samoa. So it's pretty incredible. So the energy side is what they would call a sleeping giant at Tesla. Cars are really cool. Energy helps power the cars. Residential, I'm sure you guys have driven around and seen solar panels go up, and maybe a couple of you guys have put in some reservations for the solar roof, which I do apologize, we don't have any information on that. It's probably not going to be available here for a pretty long time. But a lot of us just work in the solar field here, the energy advisors. Our panels are made by us. in Buffalo at the Gigafactory. We have a partnership with Panasonic, and we actually make some of the most efficient panels on the market. We actually own our own mounting system. So for Tesla customers, that means less penetrations in your roof. It's about a third less penetrations actually, so that's pretty massive. And we also warranty all this, which other companies do not. And also it easily integrates with Powerwall. So for example, if you have a solar system right now, we can always add the Powerwall in. And the Powerwall can back up a whole home. It can just run a whole home at night if you'd like it to. You can just do essential loads. You can do anything you want it to do. It also knows when storms are coming, so it'll actually charge itself up without asking you when or how to charge. It'll just charge itself up to 100%, just like it did the other day for a lot of our customers when that storm was coming through, just in case the power went out, like mine went out. I don't have a Powerwall, and I need one. So I kind of jumped ahead here, but this is a real situation. Squirrel takes down the power grid. That happened in California. And so the entire power grid went down, and one of our first Powerwall installations stayed up. And you really don't know when a house has gone out of power if you have a full home backup with Powerwall. For example, I was up in Glenarm at one of our customers' houses, just kind of shooting it and hanging out, and he's a coffee dealer, so we were just testing his different coffees that he had, and got a knock on the door from the neighbor saying, "Hey, is your power out?" And we're like, "No way." He had his pool pump running, all his different refrigerators, AC going. This is in August, and we look outside and BG&E's in the front yard digging a hole. And so his neighbor just hung out with us, drank some coffee until BG&E figured it all out and fixed it. So your clocks don't change, lights don't blink, HVAC doesn't make a bang. And actually, you can get a federal tax credit when you add it to a solar system. Even when you add it onto a solar system later on, it was actually Solar City prior to Tesla that pushed for that law that when you add on a Powerwall to an existing PV system, you can actually get a 30% federal tax credit on that. The state of Maryland is the first in the nation to offer another 30% federal tax credit on the Powerwall as well. So it's a total of 60% for a backup system or a full home backup.
What would happen if there was a power outage in the neighborhood and power was out for 3 or 4 days? Mm-hmm. And how long?
Yeah, so we're talking like a dire situation, right? So in a long-term power outage, it depends on how much energy you're using, right? So we don't want to have like Leonard Skinner playing in the backyard live or anything like that because they would use up a lot of power, right? But what we would do is you're still going to, use as little energy as possible. And if you have a whole home backup, I mean, the sun's coming up tomorrow, I hope. And when the sun comes up, it powers up the PV and you're good to go, which is a little different than a generator, because in a generator or a Generac, we could, run out of propane, or that thing might not start up, because I don't know if any of you have a generator, but you're supposed to run them constantly once a month to check on them, maintain them, and make sure they all work. So with the Powerwall, this clicks on. It actually has over-the-air updates just like all of your cars do. So you only need to buy one Powerwall. You don't need to work on getting another Powerwall 5 years down the road. It always is constantly updating itself. Like I was talking about the storm tracker. That's actually a new feature that was just added about 2 months ago. And it's pretty amazing. It warned people about the fires in California. It warned people the other day about the snowstorm. So it's pretty wild. So here's how a Powerwall works. With PV, I should say, with solar. So normally we have what's called net metering. And if you have solar, what happens is that you're creating energy, and you're putting that energy into your house, and whatever is not used goes onto the grid. Okay? And then the utility company, whether you have BG&E, Pepco, PP&L, Delmarva, whoever it may be, they are going to give you a one-to-one credit for that. Okay, so whatever you produce and you put onto their grid, they're going to give it right back to you. Okay, now with a Powerwall, you're still going to be connected to the utility company through the process of net metering. But what happens is this energy right here is now going to be stored in the Powerwall, the majority of it, or depending on your production. And now it's going to be used, if you choose so, with your Powerwall settings, to your essential loads or at part of your house at nighttime. So now you're going to be using more clean energy in your house than having to worry about getting it from the utility in the process of net metering. Does that make sense to everyone? Go ahead.
The cost, when you sell it back to BG&E, somebody told me that it's like 1/10 of what they charge you.
So, the process of net metering works like this. On a kilowatt to kilowatt hour basis, it's 1-to-1. It's very rare. Here, I'll back up. On the systems in the Mid-Atlantic, the solar systems in the Mid-Atlantic, you can get a good amount of your electricity, and it's very rare to get all of your electricity. So there's a big myth in solar that you put a system on your roof that may look like this with 8 modules or so, and that you're going to get all of your electricity. That doesn't quite happen, which is why we do try to focus on putting all the energy into fueling the car. If we can get any extra, fantastic. Some of us can, it depends on roof space, but that was the long answer. The short answer to your question is that there is what's called an all-in rate on your utility bill. Most people read their utility bill and they say, oh look, I'm paying 8 cents a kilowatt hour, and that is not real. You have to talk about, that's the standard offer service charge, okay? Now, there's also a distribution charge as well. And all of these rates do this all the time, right? So you might look at your bill one month and you're paying 16 cents, and another month you might be paying 13 cents, okay? But at the end of the year, if you do have any overage to BG&E or Delmarva, Pepco, PPL, wherever you guys, or whoever you guys use, the utility company will pay you back at that standard offer service. So they'll only pay you back at half, right? That is in a very, very rare situation, and at least they're paying you back, right? So they're giving you.
They pay you back 50 cents on the dollar, 10 cents on the dollar?
Well, it's not on the dollar, so they pay you back at that standard offer service, and sometimes that's a little more than half their charge, sometimes that's a little less, but again, it's very rare for that to happen either way. When we get into the custom, we can actually custom design a couple people's solar systems up here, and you'll be able to go ahead and scope out what we can produce on people's roofs, or you can talk to one of the energy advisors here and they can see what we can produce on your roof, and then we can kind of get deeper into those details. So this is how the Powerwall works with our apps. Okay, everyone has a Tesla app for their car. It's exactly right. You can choose your Powerwall, right? You can choose your power flow, right, and see it. Here's the grid, here's your solar system, your home, and your Powerwall. So in the morning, you're filling your you're filling your home, and then in the afternoon when the sun gets higher, you're starting to fill up your Powerwall again, and your house. Then, as we switch to evening, if you choose so, you can have your Powerwall power your house. Again, that's all done through your app, and now when you power outage, you'll actually see this. This is exactly what it looks like. And you're going to be able to use your Powerwall that way in your solar system. Also on your app, everyone has their car app. You can look at it. If you swipe, if you're here, you can swipe this way, and you can now see your car, your loot box, all the fun stuff that we have here, right? If you swipe this way, I guess that would be left. And you can see your solar, you can see your Powerwall, you can go and control your Powerwall, you'll get your any type of warning you have for a storm or anything like that. You can choose whether it's a home backup, or a whole backup, or just partial loads or whatever it may be. It's all up to you, which is pretty awesome. Again, this is part of our monitoring system like I just talked about. Another great aspect of solar with a Powerwall is that you will now be part of helping the grid sustain its life. And what I mean by that is I'm originally part of the Solar Brethren of Hawaii. I came from Hawaii to Baltimore with Tesla because in Hawaii we didn't have batteries back when I was there. And this was only 4 years ago. So what had happened is Hawaiian Electric Company, they decided that they had enough of solar. They didn't need any more because when the sun was out, we were just cranking energy onto that grid, just smashing it. So they were getting way more energy than they needed. So they were basically off. And we burned petrol, we burned diesel out there. And so, but then if we had a storm or a cloud passed over all of our solar systems, they would have to crank it up really high. And so they couldn't balance out their grid. So now what happens with the Powerwall, or our power packs for that matter, on commercial systems or anything like that, is that you are now going to be able, your Powerwall will be able to access itself like that. So you're not putting any more strain on the grid, and that is the future of solar. The proponents of solar always say, hey, look, solar is not going to survive because the sun goes down. Well, now the sun never goes down because the Powerwall is the sun inside of a white box, and it's pretty incredible. You guys all know about your Tesla referral program. So for our vehicle referrals, you can just hit your loot box right there in the top right corner. I'll tell you, you can send your picture to space and everything like that. But also you can refer yourself as a solar customer. That will get you either $250 for the Tesla store or get you $250 in a check. So you can use that to do whatever you want. You can pay for some of your solar, you do whatever you want with that. Up to 5 people, which is fantastic. And again, you know your Tesla referrals for your cars. Now, what we'll do next, I can take a couple questions if you'd like, and then what we'll do is we'll have our energy advisors speak to you all about see if your home qualifies. Does anybody have any other questions? Sure, we do.
You almost answered my question, but one of the neighbors have this gas power generator or something
Correct.
like that. Instead of using something like the batteries with the solar, why not use something like that for a long-term emergency backup?
You can. So here's a great example. So we had a customer walk in this morning. Oh, sorry. He asked why would we use a Powerwall besides a Generac? Right. So a Powerwall versus a Generac. And these are just the facts that we know. Right. If you have a Generac, fantastic. But say for example, you have 2 Powerwalls. Okay, and you have a Generac on a whole home backup. Okay. I don't know. We're not going to talk kilowatt hour usage or anything like that. We're just going to use that as an example. The Generac, you have to pay for the propane or the fuel or whatever it may be that you're using. You also have to have a plumbed-in line. You have to have it maintained all the time, and there's about 1,000 or 2,000 moving parts inside of a Generac. A lot of times a Generac does not come on. A lot of times. Also, if a Generac gets wet, it can only get wet for a certain amount of time, right? It can only withstand certain temperatures, hot or cold. Now, a Powerwall, you get a 30% federal tax credit and a 30% state tax credit. That's fantastic on the first part. The second part is that depending on your usage, the Powerwall will always turn on. The Powerwall always updates itself, and it will tell you when a storm is coming, and it will go ahead and keep itself charged. The Powerwall is connected to your solar, so you don't have to plumb in any type of line, you don't have to burn any type of fossil fuel to go ahead and power your home. The cost analysis on those two actually come out in the benefit of a Powerwall just by a little bit if you're looking at total cost. But again, preference is all yours.
Two questions. One, use the battery in your car as a Powerwall.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of putting a separate Powerwall. I'm just curious if there's any plans to do that. The second one is, I see the solar panels. What happened to the solar tiles?
What happened to the solar tiles? That's your first question first. We don't recommend using your car as a Powerwall because then you might not have power for your car. And I don't even know how to use your car as a Powerwall. So I don't have an answer for that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. The inverter only runs one direction. Yeah. So the Powerwall has an inverter, right? So that's able to invert the energy from DC to AC in your car, but that only runs one direction. Solar roof tiles, or solar roof as we call it, we're still taking reservations for that. And here's how the solar roof works, and I'll explain it to everybody. There may be a few people in here that have you made a reservation for solar roof? Okay, that have made a reservation for solar roof. The solar roof is a really, really cool product, but it's the very cutting edge of a roofing product. It's more of a roofing product than it is a solar product. So we're making some small progress on installations and test installations in California, but it really hasn't made its way to the East Coast in full capacity, and we don't know when it is going to. Now, if you have a really, really, really old roof where the shingles are blowing off in the wind, then that might be a good idea, and you don't want to get a new roof, then that may be a good idea to get the solar roof. But most of us don't have that. And so that's where solar PV actually comes in to save the day. And also, these solar photovoltaic panels, they're more efficient per square foot than actually a solar roof is. Because the solar roof is not all solar panels. You actually have outlines where you can have to walk and everything like this. Whereas the PV, you can go mostly all the way out to the sides and cover the majority of the roof, depending on the county. But if you want to talk about solar roof after this, I'll be more than happy to talk more about it. Anybody else have any questions? Got more?
I always have questions. Anybody else?
Okay, cool.
Or where there's recommendation, you need 2 of those for the whole house, for $8,000 to be for $16,000. Why do you need 2 if you don't need to power more than a refrigerator, maybe a computer, or your heating system?
Correct. You don't necessarily need to. You recommend to for each house because, say for example, you add more loads on, or maybe you have a 60 amp breaker or something like that that needs a lot of power to start up. Then you're going to have to. Then we recommend 2. If you want to add to an existing system, you can add 1. You can place an order for 1. But for all of our systems, our solar system, we've engineered those specific systems to work better and more efficient, and we know they'll be more efficient and work better with 2 Powerwalls. That's all.
I mean, this is at the beginning, but if you don't have PV, can you use the Powerwall just charging it up from the grid?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yep. Will not qualify for tax credits. Yes, that is true. Yeah.
When will it qualify for tax?
Why won't it qualify for
When?
tax?
No, it will not. Under what circumstances?
If you do not connect the Powerwall to an existing solar system or in a system being installed with it, it will not qualify for the federal tax credit or the Maryland tax credit. All right, cool. So what I can do, go ahead.
Tax credit just for the solar?
Yeah, you totally get tax credit just for the solar. Yep. So the solar tax credit is 30% if you're looking to buy the solar, and then next year, at the end of next year, it will drop a little bit. At the end of the year after that, it will drop, and then it will kind of level itself off at 10%. So right now, this is totally coincidental, but I'm sure everyone's seen it in the news. If you guys have a Tesla, maybe something's popped up on your phone. But just today is Saturday, so just Wednesday, we dropped our prices for solar for the remaining part of the quarter. And it actually is until the remaining part of the quarter, because that's to try to get more customers, more of our car customers in the door to go ahead and take advantage of fueling their cars with clean energy. And I'm sure our prices change all the time, but I'm sure they're going to go back up in quarter 1 of next year. So again, thanks for coming. Did anybody, who else brought electricity bills? Did most people bring bills? Beautiful. So our energy advisors, we have Caesar. I saw Mike that was with him. We have Stephen, Casey, and Jason all around here. And of course, you have myself, Noli. Snag us, and I can throw your house on here, and maybe we can design a system up or whatever you guys like. So please, thank you.